Hello, friends. I'm DJ Lance Rock, and I have to say, Rock and Roll Grad School is awesome!
This is Rock and Roll Grad School with your hosts, Heidi Hedquist and Luke Poling. First-time callers, long-time listeners.
Hello, kiddies. We're going to have a good time together because your feet are going to be on the ground and your head is there to move you around. Can you guess what I was listening to earlier today?
No.
Yeah, it's true. We have Steve Conte, which is fun for you because you sort of like that one Pink Floyd show where David Gilmour got so mad he threw down his guitar and walked out to the soundboard and stood there.
Mm-hmm.
And he finally got to hear what they sounded like as a band.
Mm-hmm.
This is sort of you today because you weren't there for the Steve Conte interview.
Right.
But Steve is a talented singer-songwriter, which sounds like damning with faint praise. But when you go down the list of people he has played with,
Yes.
it gets insane quickly. I mean, first off, he is a former New York Doll. Let's just start with that.
Which, rubs salt in the wounds, but yes.
Yes. I think we can talk to him again. He was very nice, very interesting guy. His new record or his new single that just came out was co-written and produced by a certain Andy Partridge from a certain XTC.
Friends of the show. I mean, Andy's not, but
right.
He
but
will
he
be.
Would
but
be, yeah.
Yes.
So it was a really fun conversation and a lot about music and a lot about sort of songwriting and collaboration and a bunch of other interesting things. So there is that. There's something else where I was like, oh, I saw this great thing this morning that the elder thinks is the funniest thing in the world. Do you know the most religious musical chord?
What?
That'd be the G sus.
Wait, I don't know the sus. What's the sus?
Suspended.
Oh.
It's because if you say sus 7, it doesn't sound as religious.
Okay. No, so, it's hilarious.
Thank you.
Well, I knew it was.
The 11-year-old thought it was really funny.
I think, and the 11-year-old has way better taste than both of us combined. So
this is true.
I feel I just didn't know the term.
Yes. So the other thing.
I don't actually play music. I mean, I played flute and piano, but that isn't really. We don't speak that way.
Right. Yes. So I was going to share this. So this is a perfect thing for several of our podcasts.
Oh.
So we have a new show. I don't know if we've mentioned it here.
Well, we should.
A show called Famous Last Words.
Mm-hmm.
And it is a short, under 10 minutes story of some historical person of note and their final words. And what I found here, and I'm going to hold this up to the camera because, as you know, this is a oral medium.
I know, but it makes it fun. I actually like listening to our show and not seeing things that we've talked about. Wait, you're frozen.
Schnittke, I believe. 1934 to 1998. And of course, it's not making me. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to hold this up. I don't know if you can see that too clearly.
No. Okay.
Okay.
Yes.
So that's his headstone.
Oh, that's pretty sweet.
So what it is semi-breve, which is that center bar, which indicates rest or pause in the music. The fermata, the half circle, and the dot at the top indicates to hold the note, in this case, the rest for as long as possible. The note should then be performed fortissimo, meaning it should be performed extremely loudly, strongly. So it's essentially an extremely loud, long silence to be held as long as desired.
That's awesome. So wait, can we do an episode of that?
We should. I don't know
and
what his
just
last
be like,
words were.
no, but that's it. That's like just loud and quiet and loud.
I mean, and maybe that's something for one of these, because you always see the best headstones ever.
Right. Like that's all, folks.
That's all, folks. Jack Lemmon in Billy Wilder's I'm a writer, but nobody's perfect. All sorts of things.
Yes.
But yeah, I just thought that was the perfect kind of combo of music and the other
agree.
show.
Is Michael Stipe going to do It's the End of the World as We Know It
on his headstone?
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like he's a scatter my ashes in the most bizarre places around the world.
Yeah. Or I feel like maybe it would be a Man on the Moon reference.
Yeah. That's true. Could
Basically,
be that.
I feel like it could be a constant loop of most of their songs.
It really could be, yeah. My head is tired, my heart aches, I'm half a world away.
Right? Sidewinder sleeps in the night.
This is true. Night swimming deserves a quiet night.
What's the frequency, Kenneth? That would be amazing.
That would be great.
I might just want that for me.
Star 69.
Right.
I mean, all of Day Sleeper. I mean, there's a lot of
shiny, happy people holding hands.
Yeah, I think that one and Stand are pretty much right out of his, Yeah. They always, I have it. I know what it is.
Okay.
I know what it is. So Stand, he wouldn't, because they never liked that as a single.
Thank God, because I hate that song.
Get Up.
Yes. Yes.
When it comes to folks to collaborate with and kind of bounce ideas off of, one of the founding members of XTC, you could do worse.
No kidding, man. I mean, for me, top 10 songwriters of all time to me, it's like writing with a Beatle, you know? I mean, he's up there with, it's Lennon and McCartney, it's Jagger and Richards, it's Townsend, it's, I don't know,
it's
Rod Stewart, early Stewart, Page and Plant maybe, but there's a more classic rock blues things, but Sting, the early Police stuff, incredible. I feel the same way about XTC and Andy, and just brilliant writer.
How'd you guys end up connecting?
Actually, I stole his dream job.
There you go.
Is what he said somewhere. I read. Conte's the guy. I got my dream job. He wanted to be the guitar player in the New York Dolls when he was here. And apparently, well, I never knew this about him. I've been an XTC fan since 1982, 83. And it was only, let's see. So I met Steve Lillywhite, producer, who produced Drums and Wire, Black Sea for XTC, amongst others, records, U2 and the Stones and blah, blah, blah. But so I became friends with Steve Lillywhite in around 2009, 10. And but actually before that though, I had done a record with my brother called The Contes Bleed Together was the name of the album. We did that in 2003. And I found out that the guy who repaired my guitars in New York City, Dennis Fano, had started his own company, Fano Guitars, and he was building a custom-made guitar for Andy Partridge. And I was like, I can't believe it. You are in touch with Andy Partridge? I said, you got to give him this record. And I gave him the CD, the Contes record. And he gave it to Andy, and we just heard back through Dennis that, Andy really liked it, thought it was great, but never went any further. So that's how he became aware of me and my brother. And then, but we had been signed to Mercury Records with our band company Wolves, but he wouldn't have known that. And as far as he knew, I guess we were just a couple of, guys doing indie records, on our own. And then flash forward to when I met Lillywhite. Oops, I'm sorry. I don't have my notifications silenced here. Lillywhite and I were chatting on Twitter one day, and the subject of Andy came up, and he's like, "Oh, Andy is on Twitter." I was like, "Really?" He said, "Yeah, the Twitter handle XTC fans is actually Andy. He actually answers those." I said, "No way." So he roped Andy into this conversation, and then we all started chatting together, like in public, and that sort of turned into, Andy saying, "You playing the dolls?" And oh my God. And, I wanted to be a doll. And then he gave me the whole spiel and the whole story, which is out there. I'm not telling any secrets, but
right.
He wrote like a love letter to David Johansen, a musical love letter. I love your band, and I want to be, I want to be the guitar player. This was after Johnny Thunders had left. And I call myself Lord Andrew English, and he had really long hair at that time. He must have been like 75 when he had this band, the Helium Kids, before XTC, him and Colin Moulding. And so Andy told me this story, and I was like, "Oh man, I had no idea that you were into the dolls. Wow!" And then it turns out he found out that I was coming to play in his town of Swindon with Michael Monroe and Alice Cooper. And he said, he wrote me a message. He says, "I see you're playing in my shithole town." He says, "I'll buy you lunch, or let's have lunch, my treat." And I was like, fucking screenshot, Partridge is telling me to buy me lunch, Yeah. And he came and I did my sound check that day. He came and picked me up at the arena. We went back and hung out at his friend's studio all day for like 6 hours, and just had a blast. It was just like hanging out with an old mate, and it was not like, "Oh my God, I'm hanging out with my songwriting hero." It was totally fine and cool. And then he gave me, I would send him a new record every time I did one, and he gave me great reviews on my solo records. And so when it came time to like write this, he really liked my last album, Bronx Cheer. He gave me some amazing like reviews that, I couldn't have paid for better reviews than this from a great songwriter, no less. And then when it came time to, it was time for me to write a new single for my label, Wicked Cool Records. And I thought, I've been seeing all these interviews with Andy where he's talking about his failed songwriting career. In fact, he has an album, a compilation album called My Failed Songwriting Career. So he was writing songs with a lot of artists that apparently the songs would never get released. I guess, the label or the artist would feel in the end they didn't want to release the songs. And I said, that's nuts. Because if I ever wrote a song with Andy Partridge, there'd be no way it would not get released.
Right.
I said, I'm going to change his mind. I'm going to, So I wrote him. I said, "Andy, how would you like to write my next single with me?" And he was like, "Well, Steve, I sort of swore off writing with other people, but it's not a no." And I said, "Well, that's hopeful." So I went home and made up a really nice demo, very Beatley XTC, and I thought, let me send this to him. It's one of my songs. I didn't even put any lyrics on it or anything yet. I thought, maybe Andy will hear this and go, "Oh, I can know what to do with that." But he heard it and he thought, "Wow, Steve, that's really great, but it sounds done to me. I don't think I can add anything to this, but why don't we start something fresh?" And I was like, yes. He says, "Let's do a Zoom." So we did I'm here in the Bronx and he's in Swindon, England. And we did a 2-hour Zoom and we wrote 4 songs the first day. And that's how it all started.
That's amazing. And so you've got the record's done?
Now it's done, but it's only we had one single come out, 4th of July.
Right.
Let's see if I have a copy to show you. That's one of the Conte Partridge co-writes. He insisted that I put my name first, by the way. I wanted Partridge Conte. He was like, "Don't put my name first, please. It's my name is a flow stopper." He says, Conte flows much better than Partridge Conte. I said, okay, if you say so, but you know.
Agree to disagree, but sure.
Yeah, so this is the one.
Amazing.
See the
yeah. And there you are.
Right there somewhere it says by Andy Partridge.
Yeah.
Andy Partridge. So that one came out in the beginning of this summer. I got another single coming out in about 2 weeks, actually. That is not an Andy Partridge, Steve Conte co-write, but half of the album, as it worked out with the sequence, all of side A are Conte Partridge songs, and all of side B are Conte songs. So, and I picked my own songs that I thought went best with the stuff I wrote with Andy. So it's my most like Beatley kind of psychedelic, jangly power pop Beatles XTC release ever.
Nothing wrong with that.
No, you know, it's like I've loved this music my whole life, and I've written so many songs in that sort of bag. But you know, since I've been putting out records, well, since the Dolls anyway, I've been in this mode of just like banging them out, you know, rock and roll style, you know, 2 guitars, bass, and drums, you know, and not too much production, maybe a piano or an organ. But this one I actually play, you know, mellotron and strings, and I did some string arrangements, and I have horns, and I have real cellos that some friends of mine played, and you know, I play mandolins and 12-string sitars and all kinds of crazy shit. So it's really cool.
Yeah, and it's interesting. I was looking on your website, you posted earlier this month like a list of influences, musical influence that you had throughout and you break it down by like early years, kindergarten, elementary.
Yeah.
And if you go to that list and you hold that up against your discography, there's a lot of straight lines that can be drawn directly across. I mean, obviously you list XTC, but folks like, you know, Jay Giles Band, you've played with Peter Wolf, all of these other bands. I mean, how often do you look across the stage or look across the studio and just go, my God, I can't believe this actually like all came together, and like I get to be in the same room with these people.
Yeah. I mean, I work with, you know, Jay Giles, one of my childhood, you know, heroes, that whole band, and Peter Wolf especially, and then I work with Peter Wolf, and then Simon and Garfunkel, one of the first records we ever had in my house. It was like the only pop record my parents had. They had jazz records. And then, you know, I'm working with Paul Simon and Art Garfunkel. So it's always amazing when that happens. But, you know, I guess I'm sort of desensitized to it now. We haven't been in New York City for 35 years, and, you know, meeting and playing with so many people and you know, at high levels. And even if it was just a jam one night, you know, or whatever, it's like, you know, been on stage with Etta James and, you know, James Cotton and, you know,
Bernard Purdy,
Hubert Sumlin, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, just legends, you know, and not a Beatle or a Stone yet, but yeah, so you just kind of, you know, I'm not going to say I'm at their level, but, you know, I'm certainly thought of when people at a certain level, you know, are looking for, you know, maybe some of what I do, you know.
Yeah, it's got to be a great ego.
Playing, whatever.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's a nice day job. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, can't beat it with a stick, certainly.
Yeah.
It's so, I mean, how often are you writing kind of on a constant basis? You know, or are you sort of waiting for the Andy Partridge phone to ring?
No. That I would never do that. In fact, we after our first 2-hour Zoom where we wrote 4 songs, we came back a month later and wrote 4 more in another 2-hour Zoom session. So we have 8. We have 8 songs. 6 are actually completed and demoed up. The 6th one didn't really fit this album, so that's ready to go for the next one or whatever. And there's 2 others that are like halfway done, but I'm going to finish them, or I'm going to at least demo them up and send them to Andy. And that's how we would work. We'd get the initial idea, you know, maybe just a verse and chorus, maybe some lyrics, and then we'd go, okay, let's move on to the next idea. And then I would go away with that idea and like make my own demo, and I'd add a bridge and add an intro, and I'd send him the demo, and he'd give me his comments, and I'd go back and tweak, and oh, this needs a stronger second verse, or but a lot of stuff that I would do, I'd send it to him. I go, oh, I hope he likes the bridge, or I hope he likes the intro, and he loved it. It wasn't like it needs a better, So I think he kind of, I rose to the occasion.
Right. Do you like that kind of form of collaboration where it is that back and forth, or do you prefer to be in the same room?
Oh, I'd love to be in the same room, but that's also got its downside. Sometimes I remember me and Keith Brewer, the singer from Company of Wolves, we would be sitting in a room sometime with guitars for there'd be painful 10-minute silences, or thinking, what's the next? Where should it go? So there's those painful sounds. At least with the the internet stuff, you can go, well, look, we only got 40 minutes left before my Zoom expires. Let's move on, and then you can go away and kind of drive yourself crazy with it without involving another person in your madness. And then you can send them the best ideas instead of throwing out a bunch of weird. But we all throw out bad ideas. I mean, every single thing that Andy threw out wasn't a keeper. I mean, there were some things where I said something that was he was like, no, you can't say that. And I was like, yeah, you're right. I know it sucked, but I just threw it out there anyway, And there was something that he threw out there like that. It was like, wow, Andy Partridge said something that I'm actually saying this could be better. How dare I? But I have standards, and he has standards, and his standards are a hell of a lot higher than mine, I'm sure, and obviously. But together, I think we came up with some really great stuff.
Yeah, and it's that whole sanctity of the writer's room kind of thing, where it's we can throw out something and I can say no, but we're not going to take it outside of here. This is just going to stay here, and if it's crap, that's fine. It's just going to stay there between us. And
I don't think we wrote, I mean, I don't think we wrote anything that we thought, nah, that sucks. Let's throw it on the, let's take it out back and shoot it, as somebody once said. But sometimes he'd go, oh, I have this idea, and it would be like, okay, I can make that work. My thought would be, this is Andy Partridge, I can make this work.
Right. Damn it.
Yeah, and a couple of songs on the album are like that. They started out as okay ideas, and I think they ended up great because I got enthusiastic about it, and then I finished it, and then I sent it to Andy, and then Andy was like, well, it's pretty good, but you got to do this and that, and then he made it better, and then by the end, it's a really good song.
Yeah. What does the Wicked Cool folks make of all of us? They just ecstatic that
I'm not sure that how aware they are of Andy or XTC. Except that Andy wrote one of the Monkey singles that they played.
Oh, there you go.
But I would like to make a big deal out of it. I hope they will do the same. And the press has been great so far, but it's just for a single, so you can't really get the kind of blow up, like Rolling Stone or.
Right. Is this your first record with them?
No, Bronx Cheer, my last record.
Okay, that's what I thought, yeah.
And before that, I'd done a single, Gimme Gimme Rockaway, a standalone single, which ended up on Bronx Cheer but before that, Steven kind of discovered me and my music when he heard the Steve Conte NYC album, which came out in 2014. And he made a couple of the songs, coolest songs in the world, and it was like, oh, I never knew Conte was a songwriter. I thought he was just a guitar player. So he's been playing me ever since 2014, and I did a covers album after that called International Cover Up. and he played a bunch of songs from that. And so, finally they offered me a deal, even though, they were playing my stuff before and it was on my old label.
Right.
And now we've been just working together on records. So, but usually I come up with everything and then I present it and I go, here it is. I'd like Steven to be involved, but he's super busy between Bruce and the radio station and the charities and foundations, and he does some great things with schools and educating kids on music, and it's great. He's just one of those guys who can wear a million hats, man. I don't know how he does it.
Yeah. Well, when you look at your career overall, I feel like you couldn't have charted this thing out if you had wanted to. Like there's been so many cool and interesting zigs and zags. I mean, playing with the Dolls for how many years was it?
6 years.
6, yeah. Like, and you, like you said in that thing, like not a huge Dolls fan growing up, like didn't consider them a huge influence, but like, again, like what an opportunity to sort of like get to see some of those guys work close up and get to see that part of the world through their eyes. And I'm assuming just collaborating with them, helps you, improves your songwriting, and any collaboration with any other artist is going to help you get better at your own stuff.
Yeah. And it just helped me focus on different aspects. Like, up until 2006, or 2004, when I joined the Dolls, the records I had been making with my brother were, going back to Company of Wolves, which was like kind of hard rock, but informed by power pop. We loved Cheap Trick, we loved the Beatles, we loved Petty and the Stones and Humble Pie and all that. So it was coming out of like kind of classic rock. And then my first album after that, indie album, was Crown Jewels. Me and my brother had this band, and that kind of followed along in that sort of classic bluesy, classic rock tradition. And then it kind of morphed more into, I got more into like playing acoustic guitar and singer-songwriter sort of stuff. So stuff got a little softer. And then the next album, The Conte's, the one I played for Partridge, kind of got more experimental with some weirdness, weird instruments, and it was kind of rock and pop, and but I'd been making albums that were like really beautiful sounding and melodic. And then the Dolls thing happened, and it was like slam bang, noise and seat of the pants, like stuff, just making it, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And it was really exciting. It's like, wow, I've been trying to be good all these years, and this is so much fun to just like, toss it off and say, hey, it's rock and roll, 3 chords and,
mm-hmm.
a cloud of dust, as they say. And so then I started making records like that because it was so much fun to make the Dolls records. I thought, I want some of this fun for myself. So I made Steve Conte and the Crazy Truth, which was recorded almost live. It was a trio, and I played the solos live on the basic tracks. For you people who don't know about recording, a lot of bands, what they do is they go in and everybody plays separately, and then they punch in and they make their part perfect, and then they go and they overdub 10 solos and slice them up and put the best bits together. Well, the Steve Conte and the Crazy Truth album was like live. I played the guitar solos live with the bass and drums as we were recording, and it was really exciting to do it that way. And I overdubbed a couple of things, like I would overdub a rhythm part instead of overdubbing a lead part.
Right.
So working with the Dolls kind of brought me back to what I always liked about rock and roll in the beginning, which was, I used to wear, ladies' clothes when I, when I was 13, and, Kiss was out there, and T-Rex and Bowie and Alice Cooper. And, I had bands where we wear makeup, and I'd wear my mom's, belly shirts and, thigh-high boots. And, and so this was a chance to sort of, return to, where it reminded me of my youth, and so it was exciting to get back to that, and musically to like simplify. And then the next but let's see, Crazy Truth, and then the next thing I did, I guess, was the NYC album, which was my goal with that one was to make songs that I could play solo on acoustic guitar if I couldn't afford to bring a band out on tour with me, and so the songs just had to be really good songs. It wasn't about jamming and this feels great and this is a great track, and had to be lyrics, melody. So yeah, everything sort of it was just more like focusing stylistically on one thing or another.
Do you work better?
Because I didn't really write. I mean, with Johansson, he wrote the lyrics.
Right.
I didn't really like sit down in a room and go, what should we say here or whatever. I gave him a finished track and he came back and goes, hey, Stevie, I wrote words to one of your tunes. I'm like, oh, okay. Right. And it was fun. And that was it. Right. It was brilliant, So I didn't have anything to say like, no, David, you should go here or there. Yeah. Nope. It was
Girl with No Name by Steve Conte is available right now on Wicked Cool Records. For more information and to get your copy, check out his website, stevecontemusic.com. You can also follow him on Facebook, where he is at facebook.com/SteveContePersonal.
You can check us out on all the various socials. Be sure to visit our website at rockandrollgradschool.com, and don't forget to leave us a review.
Today's show is produced by myself and Heidi Hedquist. Our reluctant producers are John Sauvé and Sandy Stone. Our willing producers are Rachel Allen and Randy Jeanette. Our intern is Zach Jackson. This one's for Philippe. Thank you, good night, and may all your favorite bands stay together.
Deep in my mind, she is mine just the same.